Welcome back, and now we're going to kick off the second brew. This is a Fat Tire Amber Ale that I got from Northern Brewer, and let me walk you through what we have. So we have a Brew Pilsner Light dried malt extract. We have the Fat Tire Amber Ale grain blend, which is going to be a little bit different than I did last time. German, I have no idea how to pronounce that. Pearl, something like that, and then a German Hirschbach. Then we have the malt extract, and then we have the sugar. I almost forgot. I'm trying out a new wet yeast. This is what came with the kit. I'm gonna brew with this whole set and see how it turns out. So I'm going to follow the instructions again this time. My plan overall on the channel is I think I've now got another 2 kits after this one, and then I'm going to start experimenting. So I just kind of want to get a base level of knowledge, be able to get some beers that are drinkable before I start screwing things up and experimenting. So to start with, I need to go ahead and get 2.5 gallons of water. It's a little bit smaller batch. Last one was 5 gallons, so that's pretty good. So I just measured out 2.5 gallons of water, and now I'm just gonna heat it on the stove. I gotta bring it to a boil, and then we'll mix in the grain. So I just put the grain in the grain sock, just put it into seep. It said to wait until it's up to about 170 or 20 minutes. So now it's time to wait. So I just pulled the grain bag out, letting it drip on the cookie rack on top, which is a little trick I learned online. And now I am heating it up to 170 degrees. And then I'm gonna mix in the dry malt extract. I also ran out of the sanitizing tablets. So I'm actually gonna try out, I got a jug of Star San. So I mixed in 1/2 ounce, and I'm gonna put in 2.5 gallons of water and use that as my sanitizer. So I've now got the grain water up to 170 degrees. Now it's time to mix in the dry malt extract. So now I mixed in the dry malt extract. So I'll stir it up a little bit here so you can kind of see it. And now I got to bring it back to a boil. And then it's going to be a 60-minute boil. At the beginning of the boil, I'm going to add the first round of hops. And then with 15 minutes left, I'm going to add the second round of hops and also the barley malt extract, whatever the hell it is. Now this one's just malt extract, which to make easier, I have sitting in hot water just so it kind of makes it a little bit easier to pour. Quick update on the Star San as well. First time I used it, it foamed up pretty good. I'm going to use that to make sure everything's sterilized and good to go. I've now got my wort up to a boil. So now I need to start my timer for a 1-hour boil. And I also need to add the first round of hops. I'm gonna sprinkle them in here. You can see pellet hops. Nice aroma coming off of that. And now I let it go for 45 minutes. So I'm about 45 minutes into my boil and got the wort, got the malt extract, and my hops. So the first thing I'm gonna do, let's go ahead, pour in the second batch of hops here. I don't know if these are supposed to go in this order or not, but this is the German Hirschbacher, something like that. And see if I can get a grip on this with my left hand. Pour in malt extract. Now I did let this soak for almost 10 minutes in hot water from the tap. Not sure it wasn't boiling or anything that would actually melt the plastic, but that way it poured in nice and easy. Try to get as much of this out of there as possible. All right. Set that aside. And now Turn this in. Now, the final 15 minutes. Let this go, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes. So I'm actually going to try something new. This recipe calls for crashing the temperature right after the boil, which is something that I've struggled with so far. So I'm actually filling up a soaker tub full of cold water with whatever ice we have in the house. And I'm gonna see how quickly we can drop this wort from, right now it's about 210 degrees down to about 100 or so. So here's my cooling setup. Big tub, whole bunch of water. I actually put way too much water in it, so I had to drain it because the whole pan was actually floating. But you can see that's where we are. And it's only been floating or sitting in here for a minute or two. Let's see if it's dropped at all. Let's see what's it down to. It was 210 degrees when I pulled it off the stove. And it's right around 180, so it's already dropped almost 30 degrees. I think this is gonna work. All right, so using the tub was a huge success. In 30 minutes, I dropped the wort from 210 degrees to just below 90 degrees. So now I'm gonna continue going forward, which is adding 2 gallons of cold water to the fermentation bucket, pouring the wort in, and then top it up to 5 gallons from there. And then I gotta put the yeast in. So let's get to work on that. So right now I've got 5 gallons of wort sitting right about 68 degrees. And I opened my bag of liquid yeast and I'm gonna pour it in. Here's my 5 gallons. Here's my yeast. Oh, there's still a whole bunch of stuff in there. Gotta get that. All right, so I added the yeast. Now I got the lid sealed on. I'm gonna put the sanitizer in my airlock, and then I'm gonna put it in cold space. And in about 2 weeks, we're gonna move it into a secondary fermenter. And then 2 weeks after that, we'll bottle it. See you soon. All right, so I'm all cleaned up from brewing. It's put in a dark, calm place. It's gonna be fairly temperature controlled. Now I wanna check the final gravity. Like I should say, actually the initial gravity. So it looks like it's gonna wind up about a 1062. And based off of that, in 4 weeks, when I put it in the bottles, I'll be able to tell what the alcohol content is.